You little peasant! You found a master, haven't you?
Yes. You're looking at her.
Ugh. I hate it. I hate it so much. Hello everyone, my name's Aloubell, and there's no time to dilly-dally. I reviewed the first 4 episodes of Netflix's Avatar The Last Airbender, and now it's time to finish off the season. Please go watch that last video before you watch this one. For the rest of you lovelies, let's jump into it. Varric, say the thing.
Julie, do the thing!
Episode 5, Spirited Away. A quick disclaimer before we start. As much grief as I gave Katara's actress and any other actor I may have given a critique to, they all seem like really cool people in real life. Plus, given that she's still a young actor, many of them are, they are still coming into their craft and learning. Also, some of the acting may not have been on the actors themselves, but on the directors. Plus, any and all writing decisions don't fall on them. So please, nobody bully or harass the actors. I mean, don't bully anyone associated with this show, really, or anyone in general. The actors especially were all doing their best. It's okay to provide constructive criticism and feedback, but never harassment. Do we all understand this? Cool. So now, the episode. Once again, we are reminded that this is in partnership with Nickelodeon. And Sokka finally got to use his boomerang. He might have used it before, but I legitimately don't remember. I liked Katara's use of her bending with the frozen pillar and shooting off shards. Or discs, I guess. I, however, wasn't impressed by her physical movements. They weren't very fluid and elegant in my opinion. But again, I know we can't be as pretty as the animation. The firebenders chasing Team Avatar remind me of stormtroopers, and that earned a silent chuckle. This is also your daily reminder that Momo is stupid cute, but so incredibly useless. I'll take 5 of them. Look, I like that Katara was trying to comfort Aang when he saw the forest that was burned up. It's a good bonding moment and shows that she is sensitive to his feelings. However, from the actress's performance, I'm still not fully getting the sense that she feels bad and understands the weight of everything. She didn't look sad for the forest, or for Aang, or even disgusted by the Fire Nation for what they did. All I'm getting from her performance is that she knows that Katara is supposed to say something here, and so she's just going through the motions. I know, even despite the disclaimer, it still feels like I'm targeting this girl way too much. Again, I'm sure she's a lovely person, and I do think she looks the part, tremendously more so than the last live-action Katara, but I don't feel like she's in tune with her character yet. Switching gears, Sokka trying to cheer up the little girl was sweet, and it really shows how he has experience being a big brother. Also, nice nod to the Pippin Paddleopsicopolis name that Aang made up in the cartoon. Would have been exceptionally more appreciated if, he got to be goofy along with Katara. But, sometimes in this show we just can't have nice things. But the nod was appreciated. And I just realized that we never got Zuko's backstory on how he got his scar. I bring this up because Ozai actually praised Zuko and low-key chastised Azula, which is so backwards for him. I'm not used to Ozai praising the son that he banished for being weak and a disgrace and putting down his golden child. And yeah, Azula definitely seems more needy in this adaptation. So let's be clear, both Ozai and Azula are characterized differently, which again isn't necessarily a bad thing, as there'd be no point in an adaptation if it were exactly the same as the original. One would argue there's no point in this adaptation to begin with, but it all depends on how it all plays out. Having said that, I do still miss the original Azula, as this desperate one isn't as fun to be around. Sokka still makes me chuckle, and he is still carrying Team Avatar. His I'm getting hungry while Aang is trying to concentrate, and him shushing Katara when she wasn't even saying anything. I found that kind of cute and funny. I've noticed that only Sokka is allowed to be funny. Yes, he was the comic relief in the original show too, but Aang is supposed to be a happy-go-lucky kid who knows how to have fun. And of course, he can be serious when the situation calls for it, but the whole point of his character arc was that he just wanted to goof off and do kid things, but, you know, he had to be the Avatar and learn how to be responsible and mature and do all his, you know, do his job. But here it's just like all business and serious 95% of the time, and that's just not Aang. He's not as charming. And neither is Katara, for that matter. Yes, she could be the motherly, naggy one sometimes, but she knew how to be sassy and goofy and, you know, a person, a more well-rounded person. I'm so disappointed. Them not having any humor is making them exceptionally dry. However, as much as I praise Sokka, his performance of the line, "We'll get us back now," needed another take. It didn't sound good. And I'm sorry, did we have some off-camera adventures? I'm pretty sure the guys in the bar alluded to some of the cartoon episodes, and apparently Team Avatar had some side quests. I don't know how I feel about them having done stuff off-camera. It makes sense, I suppose, since the series has them go from the South Pole to the North Pole in only 8 episodes, and naturally that's a long trip, and thus some things would have to happen along the way that we don't know about, which I guess is theoretically fine. But I think the biggest sin against this is that the Avatar being around is more common knowledge than it was last episode, and I feel like the spreading of that information would have been important to see. Oh, hi, June. Nice to see you. She actually looks pretty cool here, not gonna lie. 2 things, though. 1, it's been funny seeing Zuko try to hold back his rage, and 2, I was kind of hoping that Iroh would have reacted more flattered when June complimented him. And yeah, her calling him cute isn't canonical, but it's not breaking anything, so it's fine. It's cute. It's kind of a cute moment. I don't know. I don't have a problem with it. Wait, is that the owl from the library in book 2? I forgot his name, but why is he here? I can only suspect that he's here either because if this show does get renewed for a 2nd season, they won't adapt the library episode, but we still wanted to see him regardless, or they like the character so much that they wanted to include him just in case there isn't a season 2. I mean, sure, maybe they just wanted to introduce him early and have them meet back up in the next season. Honestly, who knows? I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing that he's here, it's just interesting. Also, his face is really cute. I now want an owl plush. And now we have more insecure Azula. And honestly, a bit unhinged too. Again, the cartoon Azula was also insecure and unhinged, but she didn't show that at all until the show was almost over. So it took a while for her to even reach that point. She's supposed to be a master at being cold and unfeeling, confident and sadistic. For the longest time, OG Azula always kept her composure. This new one is showing her emotions so obviously that even her quote-unquote friends see that she needs some reassurance. How are you guys out there watching this video feel about the new insecure Azula? Well, the new, obviously insecure Azula. Again, different doesn't mean bad. It's just, how are you guys feeling about it? Do you like the change? Do you not like the change? Let me know. Also, Mei and Ty Lee feel like NPCs and not their own characters just yet. Which makes sense to a degree because they're not even supposed to be here, and neither is Azula for that matter, but there's a little bit of logic to that. But them being here, we can't really expand on their stories, otherwise this season will feel even more jam-packed than it already is. But then that begs the question of why are they here? They really shouldn't be. There is no reason, other than to hype Azula up. But the thing that I'm most disappointed about is that Ty Lee isn't doing her circus stuff. Her whole thing was about her trying to stand out from her sisters and be her own person, while doing this quirky thing of being in the circus. So her following Azula around instead of pursuing her individuality feels so disingenuous to her character. What's gonna happen in season 2? She's gonna go back to the circus for an hour and then Azula's gonna come fetch her? I don't know, it just doesn't seem right to me. Anyway, the forest spirit looks cool. You know, the panda thing? I don't remember his name. He looks cool. Hold on. How many episodes are we mixing in this? Let's see, we have the June episode, the Spirit Forest episode, depending on if we actually get the library episode next season, there's a little bit of that sprinkled here, and potentially the Swamp episode? Are we gonna see Toph? I liked the detail of Katara blinking her eyes really hard when she was in the vision/illusion of the Southern Water Tribe with her mom. It's a small thing, but I've done that before to see if I'm truly in reality or a dream, so that was a nice touch. And I do like that, even though it was a vision/illusion, we got to see interaction between Katara and her mom. We didn't see much of that in the OG series. And okay, I think this is the best Katara scene we've had in the entire show so far. It was a good flashback and you really feel her pain here. Well done. Since it does seem like we are doing a version of the Swamp episode, I was wondering what Sokka would see since he hasn't met Yue yet. I'm almost wondering if that multi-tailed fox's voice is the voice of this show's Yue. I honestly don't know, and I didn't check. It just makes sense to me since we're replacing the vision of her with whatever comes next. I haven't seen his vision yet. But since he doesn't have the experience of Yue dying yet, what's he gonna see as a vision? And now that I saw it, it makes sense that it was of his dad and having to face his own insecurities as a leader and a warrior. It's a little sus that his dad said some mean things. That doesn't seem in character for him, but it honestly makes more sense, for Sokka to re-experience this than the Yue thing, personally, since he only knew her for a few days. So this vision is better to me. Kinda ruins the dad's character a little bit, but this vision makes more sense. Also, I wanted to give Sokka a hug. Gonna be honest, the face-stealing thing, honestly very creepy and just the best nightmare fuel. Thanks for that, by the way. And I guess we just eliminated the rule that you can't show any emotion in front of it, huh? Alright, I guess. Aang then gets his Grandpa Gohan reunion moment with Monk Gyatso. It's a very sweet reunion. A very interesting decision for sure. Reminds me of how they introduced Iroh's spirit in Legend of Korra. I wonder if that's how they got this idea. I do appreciate that Gyatso assured Aang that he wouldn't have been able to prevent the Fire Nation attack. I mean, there's a chance he would have been able to with the Avatar state, but I understand the sentiment. That does give me a thought, though. I know throughout this show, Aang is, super guilty about leaving the air nomads behind and them getting wiped out. But the way that the show has phrased it is that, Aang abandoned them when, no, he didn't. He went for a walk and he was going to come back. So that part of his guilt really shouldn't be there. I mean, I understand I should have been there, regardless. But he didn't abandon them. He just stepped out for a second. But I'm not invalidating his guilt because the guilt still makes sense in context. I just also understand how his motivation to, not leave forever does kind of ruin his character arc a little bit. But the other thing is that at some point, I don't remember when, he says that the air nomads sacrificed everything for him. So he has to pay them back and perform his duties and all this stuff. But, no, they didn't. They did not sacrifice everything for him at all. They were being attacked and they were trying to defend themselves. They didn't know that they were after the Avatar. As far as they knew, the Fire Nation was just being a bunch of jerks. So, no, they weren't sacrifice everything for you, and I don't know why you'd assume that. But anyway, this got off track. I just realized we haven't seen Roku yet. Should this have been a Roku moment instead of a Gyatso moment? Oh, we're getting there. Okay. Let's be realistic, though. Ko would have and should have already eaten Katara, Sokka, and the others by now. Or, stole their face. Whatever thing he does. The fact that he won't get away with this, especially since Aang has to go on a side mission, is very unrealistic. But thank goodness for plot armor, right? Also, an update. There was no Toph. I am sadness. Episode 6. Masks. Alright, this scene-by-scene commentary thing was so far removed from what I wanted this review to actually be. It's just creating more work for myself, and it's not as fun watching these episodes if I have to pause every couple of minutes to make a comment. So, I'll just watch the whole episode, and if anything is memorable enough to comment on, I will. Okay? You cool with that? Thank you. You guys are the best. One quick mini note though. I do kind of like that we're getting some of the perspective of the Fire Nation soldiers' feelings about how Zuko has been treating them and how things have been the past 3 years. This is all shown through Lieutenant G, and his frustrations make sense. Adding some humanity and character to these guys is important, I think, so I applaud that. As for this episode as a whole, I think it was a fantastic Zuko episode, to be honest. His actor is playing him so well. Not only do you understand his complex and competing emotions of wanting his honor back, although now that I think about it, he hasn't said the word honor even once. Oh wow. that's that's funny. Anyway, wanting his supposedly honor back, being whatever. What's his motivation? Well, he wants the throne, wants to be approved by his dad. All that fun stuff. While also doing the right thing and be good, but the actor himself is doing great portraying these emotions. Unlike a certain waterbender, though I won't say who, we get an extended version of his backstory with even more Iroh and Ozai interactions, which again is appreciated and realistic. But something I find interesting is the portrayal of Ozai. Unlike his cartoon counterpart, he actually seems to care about Zuko. Like, it's a twisted kind of love, and he has absolutely no idea what it means to love someone, but you can tell that he cares, and that he didn't want to hurt or banish Zuko, but did it because he thought it would help build his son's character. It's still very brutal and messed up, and in no way justifies his actions. It's just interesting the direction we're taking with him. The show is trying to humanize him, which is definitely a choice. I don't know how I feel about it yet. I don't think every villain needs a sympathetic side. It's not necessary, and it isn't necessary here. In this case, however, I don't really have an opinion on whether or not I want Ozai to have more of a character besides just being evil. Even in the original cartoon, Ozai was just kind of for me as far as villains go. Don't get me wrong, he served his part well, and was exactly the kind of villain that was needed. But on my grand list of villains that I like amongst all the TV shows, movies, books, etc. that I have consumed, I never gave him much thought. Heck, I definitely like original Zula more than him as far as villains go. So, I'm neutral towards this change. Again, we'll have to see how it plays out. Iroh was great in this episode, as always. And again, I like the characterizations we're giving Zuko's crew. Since learning about Zuko's backstory, they appreciate and respect him as a leader. And plus, they are quite literally indebted to him since he saved their lives. They recognize his strength and kindness, which is good foreshadowing for Zuko as the future Fire Lord. I also appreciated Aang's bonding with Zuko. And adding to the meme I've created in the last video, he also has more chemistry with Zuko than he does with Katara. This was a good bonding moment, and honestly, one of Aang's best moments as he best resembled his cartoon self. He showed his silly side, especially with Zhao earlier when he blew air at him, while also showing wisdom in dealing with Zuko and being sensitive about his feelings. This is the Aang we all appreciated in the original show. The Aang that we like, or an approximation of such, is not always present in this adaptation, which is a shame, but it was really good here. Zuko was more emotionally vulnerable, allowing the bonding to deepen, but he's still in pain and shuts down the potential for friendships real quick. Oh, and I call shenanigans on June finding Aang so soon at the beginning. How did Nyla travel to that island when Aang had to fly there? He wasn't meditating for that long. There's no way she should have been able to catch up. Did they take a boat? Can Nyla just swim really fast? How did this happen? Also, Roku is characterized differently in this show. He comes off more like a different flavor of this show's Monk Gyatso more than he does Avatar Roku. I kind of miss his deep voice, so it was a bit jarring to hear this actor's portrayal. This isn't a critique, I was just caught off guard. I won't give this characterization too much grief, as we know canonically that when Roku was younger, he was a jokester who liked to have fun, so having that spill into his old age is realistic. It's just not what I'm used to. This Roku isn't as regal, but he was still pretty effective and, did what he came to do. If I had to guess why they characterized him like that, I can only assume it's because they made Kyoshi and Karuk so stiff and stoic and serious that they had to include an avatar with a sense of humor. while at the same time Roku still told Aang, no friends, you must be alone, so it's kind of weird, but whatever. In the end, I honestly think this was one of the better episodes, for sure. I feel like I'm missing something. Oh yeah, I totally forgot about Sokka and Katara. Again, 100%, they realistically would have been dead. I also forgot they were in this show. But yay, they're still alive. Thanks, plot armor. Aang. On to the next. Actually, before I discuss episode 7, if you're enjoying this video, then defeat the Fire Nation by hitting the like button and subscribe for more reviews, rants, and rewrites. If you want to support me even more, then click join and become a channel member where you can get cool perks such as, but not limited to, early access to videos as well as live streams. Becoming a member will help me in my dream of having a creative career and providing more entertainment for all of you. Follow me on my socials in the description, and be sure to join our community Discord, link also in the description. If you're still watching at this point, put the water wave emoji in the comments. Thank you. Episode 7, The North. Some cool things happened in this episode, as well as some not so cool things. We start out strong with some Zuko and Iroh stuff, and I'll definitely give it to the show to convey to us just how delusional Zhao is. I initially wasn't sold on his performance or characterization since it's quite different from the original show, but it's growing on me. It's its own identity, but it's working out well. The Seven Water Tribe city looks really, really pretty, so that was a delightful visual spectacle. And on to Yue. I called it. I knew they were using her voice for the fox. I wonder how many other people realized that as well, or at least guessed it like I did. I also think this show handled her a bit better than the original in that she has special abilities. As she should, considering what the Moon Spirit did for her. She's a bender, and she has spiritual powers. Her chemistry with Sokka was really great too. And I'll be honest, I don't 100% remember too much of her interactions from the original show since it's been a while since I last saw book 1, but she didn't leave the biggest of impressions on me, but I like her here. However, I didn't buy them falling so hard for each other so quickly. Like, they fell so hard that we not only got a kiss that fast, but also her claiming that he's the boy of her dreams. Unless we're implying that she's been using her powers to spy on him through their dreams for a while now, I don't know how she came to that conclusion so quickly, but whatever. I'll allow it because they were cute, and I already know her fate. Though it does feel kind of weird how hard Sokka's going into this, considering he had a little bit more of an intimate relationship with Suki. Not that kind of intimate, get your heads out of the gutter. I just mean, since they had a full-on kiss, it seems like they're more in a relationship, but at the same time, I feel like the characters had the understanding that they might never see each other ever again, so that's the only way that my brain is justifying that Sokka and Yue are okay right here, because Sokka did not anticipate that he would ever see Suki again. Which is further proven when, like, 1 or 2 episodes ago, he tried to hit on a Fire Nation soldier lady off-screen. So that just shows me that, there is no commitment with Sokka and Suki because, it was goodbye for them. So anyway, I'll have to admit, though, I think I slightly liked the look of Princess Yue from the other live-action adaptation better. It wasn't great, but she just looked more ethereal there. I definitely prefer the Netflix's version of her personality-wise. She has much more going for her, and she's super charming and honestly very cute. I don't know. Maybe it's just the very obvious wig that the Netflix Yue is wearing that's throwing me off. But regardless, I do really like this Yue. The Netflix Yue, that is. And I might even prefer her. But that could also be me just not remembering how the original Yue was, because again, I haven't seen book 1 in years, and she didn't leave that much of a impact on me besides Moon Spirit. And Nice Lady, that's all I remember. So, I'm okay with Netflix Yue. Hopefully episode 8 won't ruin that. And now we get some more Azula! Honestly, why is she here? I mean, I sort of get why she's here, since we have Ozai here and are following him more closely compared to the original show. It wouldn't make sense to follow him around in his life and not show his daughter. But not only was it not tremendously necessary to include Ozai in the present, showing him in flashbacks is fine. showing him sparingly and keeping some level of mystery is preferred. But Azula now has nothing to do, and thus she feels pointless. I mean, they sort of justified her presence by having her be the one to puppet Zhao and guide him along, honestly thus making him not as impressive and free-thinking as his cartoon counterpart, which is a bit of a disservice, but I don't know. So far, I'm just not impressed by this new Azula. She's definitely smart and manipulative, as Azula should be, but she's not fun anymore. She's not that confident ball of sadistic and crazy energy. I don't mean like crazy as in like the last few episodes of book 3. I just mean like crazy, psychotic kind of crazy, because she will absolutely put you down without any hesitance, and she will laugh about it. So yeah, she's not fun anymore. She's just sad. Switching gears, I'm glad that there was no bad blood between Sokka and Yue's old fiancé. Again, hopefully that doesn't change next episode. But speaking of Sokka, he's not allowed to be sexist, but Pakku can be. So, one of our main characters, actually all of them, now that I think about it, none of them are allowed to have any deplorable flaws. Only villains can be sexist, only villains can be cruel, only villains can make bad decisions. Only villains can be selfish, or jealous, or any of those things. What's wrong with having a good guy have such a flaw that they need to grow from? I'm still upset that Sokka wasn't allowed to have that as his character arc, the whole being sexist thing and being humbled. Sokka is still very much carrying Team Avatar in this adaptation, but still. And regarding his sister, I saw a bit of emotion from Katara as she was denied being taught combat waterbending, but it was still missing some, well, fire, ironically. I don't think there's enough time in this season to redeem her, unfortunately. But let's talk about that disappointment of a waterbending duel. My goodness, was that desperately underwhelming. This fight is one of the things that definitely shows why Avatar is not meant to be in live action. The fight scenes and bending, while so much better than the first live action, still can't be as animated, fluid, and full of life as animation. I'll give it to you that overall the bending and the fight scenes in this show really aren't bad and get quite fun sometimes, but this fight was nothing less than a pale imitation of the original. It was slow, the moves weren't that inspired, and it was short. Yes, Pakku's a master waterbender, so it should be short, but not that short. I wasn't even impressed by Pakku, but Katara... Ugh. Okay, something else that hurts this show is how quickly we have to move through plot points. Because of that, we don't get the steady experience gain of Katara's bending. In the original show, Katara had like 26 episodes to improve her bending. We saw her absolutely suck and accidentally attack her brother, and each episode she sucks just a little bit less until she has that means of getting better. And I'd hate to say it, but even the Shyamalan movie sort of got the whole Katara sucking thing better than this show did, and that's saying something. The movie that is said to be the worst movie ever got something better than this adaptation when it comes to Katara. And even when the original Katara got the scroll, the waterbending scroll, she wasn't as good as Aang and had a lot to practice. In this Netflix show, she gained control way too fast in the first episode and didn't really make any major mistakes after that. We technically don't know how much time went by in this adaptation between meeting Aang and reaching the North. But that almost doesn't matter because as viewers don't feel whatever amount of time the show will try to feed to us. We know that time has been going by because Team Avatar had off-screen adventures. Adventures where I'm so sure Katara got better at waterbending. Would have been nice to see some of that progress on screen. Realistically, to us viewers of this show, she's really not that good. Other than the ice disc thing, she didn't do anything that cool or impressive. But by the logic of the characters in the episode, Katara is like almost the best thing ever. How? We didn't see her make that kind of improvement. We missed out on such a big thing about her character. And again, I get it. limited time, but still, please let the finale look better than this battle. Please give Katara something. She's so boring. Please. Episode 8, Legends. Please don't let this be an ironic title. Okay, just watched it and not bad. Honestly, not bad. One of the best episodes of the season, but it's not without its faults. To start with the good stuff or the bad stuff? Let's do the bad stuff first. Master Katara. Master Katara. I'm sorry. No. Just no. She has not earned being called a master. Even the original Katara had to be taught by Pakku in order to hone her skills. She was not a master when she arrived. She had to earn it. Original Katara worked her butt off to get that title. This Katara is an imposter, and it infuriates me. Katara isn't even my favorite character of the original show. She's a great character, but my favorite will always be Toph. But Katara is still so important and a really cool character. She was very much the heart of the original show, so seeing her disrespected makes me quite cross. The original writers respected her limitations and her journey, but here it felt like she was given a cheat code. I can't stand it. I can tolerate her being above average, but a master? I reject this iteration of Katara. I'll admit her fight with Zuko was better than the fight with Pakku, but still not as impressive as it could have been, and certainly not on the level of master. And speaking of things that weren't earned, Team Avatar was not a family. In the Netflix show, I mean. Nor in the movie. Really, only the original series got the whole family dynamic correctly. But regarding this Netflix show, that was a very nice speech Katara gave at the end there, and it was honestly some of her best acting. Not gonna lie. This was a top Katara moment. I actually felt something and almost wanted to tear up, but it was a topping of sweetness built on a mountain of lies. We haven't had enough evidence in this show of these three, plus Momo and Appa, to warrant them being a family. I don't buy it. There were some bonding moments spread out very thinly, but the show mostly focused on just moving from one plot point to the other. And anytime they did have time to bond, they were mostly talking about the plot and their mission and all that. And, not getting to really know each other. I never quite got to the point where they truly clicked as Team Avatar. Yes, the chemistry is miles better than the other live-action adaptation. But again, that's such a low bar. It's almost not worth bringing up. And I don't totally want to blame anyone here because you're bound to lose so much when you take 26 episodes and condense them into 8. But then again, that's not necessarily the case because if you really calculate it all out and not count for the more fillery parts of the original cartoon, the Netflix show and the original series' runtimes are very similar. They had a very similar amount of time to work with. So why is it that the Netflix show's plot progression feels so needlessly slow and ridiculously compact at the same time? I don't know what kind of magic or bending made this possible, but the math just isn't mathing. But regardless of the runtime, if the issue is in fact that the Netflix show didn't have enough time to flesh out these characters and their relationships, would the show have benefited from 1 or 2 extra episodes? Or would the issue have remained the same? Hard to say, but it almost doesn't matter because what's done is done, and what's done isn't great. Ultimately, I get it. The writers and everyone working on the show felt some pressure, but even with some clever writing decisions here and there, you're gonna have to sacrifice something under the current circumstances. And unfortunately, the bond of our main characters ended up being a casualty, which is a shame. Now, these guys don't feel like total strangers. I can tell they are friends. Sort of. And that's fine. But a family? I mean, you could make some argument with Aang since he lost literally everybody he cares about except Boomy, I suppose, who's a big bummer in this series. So the people he's traveling around almost quite literally are the most important things to him, but I am not feeling it. That is the problem. Then again, who am I to define others' relationships? I may be overstepping my bounds here. If people feel like a family, then so be it. But from a writing perspective, I want to be shown, not told, you know? Okay, what else? The only other thing that bothered me was Azula taking over Omashu off-screen at the very end of the episode. It rubbed me the wrong way, and I can't completely articulate why. I know that Omashu was conquered off-screen in the original series as well, but the presentation of it here just doesn't seem right for some reason. I don't know if it's because I wanted to see how she did it, or if I didn't like how it was just tacked on at the very end there. Maybe I didn't like how it was presented, or if it's because of my general sense of apathy for this version of Azula and her lack of charisma, intimidation, and extreme personality. Maybe it's one of those. Maybe it's all of them. But either way, I didn't care for it. By the way, once again, Boomy's characterization still bums me out. He's not cheery and optimistic anymore, and I hate it. Return this dollar-stored Boomy and bring back the real one. Alright, I think I got all the negatives out of the way. Let me move on to the neutrals. Zhao said that Ozai only did what he did to Zuko to motivate Azula. I can buy that to some degree. Actually, I can fully buy that because it's Ozai. But again, this Ozai is not the same as the original. Zhao can say what he wants, but Ozai's actor portrayed some remorse in his eyes when he made some of the decisions with Zuko. So I feel like my analysis of him was correct? ? Also, maybe it could be both. Maybe he's trying to better both of his kids, hurting Zuko to both build Zuko's character as well as his sister's. It's possible. And sure, it's also possible that he's just manipulating them both for his own benefit. In any case, everything Zhao said was speculation. Ozai wouldn't share his thoughts and feelings with some low-life soldier whom he didn't even initially know existed. So why would he convey such an idea to him? Answer: he didn't. Zhao just wanted to get under Zuko's skin. And it worked. Ozai is still a terrible person, but I'm still convinced that this Ozai still has hopes for both of his kids. Whether the hopes are for them to take over for him in the future, or his hopes to use them as tools. There is some hope in there somewhere. It's misplaced, definitely, because he's a villain, but there's something going on with this Ozai is all I'm trying to say. And now onto the good stuff. Firstly, I really like Yue. I know I said that before, but she's cool. The actress only had to play her for 2 episodes, well, 2.5, but she played her part well. Shame we didn't get to see her spirit form, though. The war looked appropriately devastating. Since it was a kids' show, we didn't get to see just how bad this siege was. But now that we have a show that's for older audiences, you once again get the full brutality, just like with the Airbenders. People died in this episode, which is very realistic for the situation. I was sad to see the nice boy that was betrothed to Yue go, but he went out a hero, and I'm glad he and Sokka never had any beef. Of course, with the pacing of this show, there was literally no time for beef, thus disappointing Sokka, who is the meat and sarcasm guy. Anyone? Anyone at all? I'm sorry. Zuko and Iroh have ended this show as the ultimate MVPs. They never had a weak appearance, in my opinion. Give them their medals now. I know Season 2 and Season 3 have been announced, and I wouldn't be surprised if the only reason this is possible is because these two carried this show on their backs. That goodbye scene at the beginning of this episode? Phenomenal. 10 out of 10. This show made me like Season 1 Zuko and Iroh definitely more than I did in the original show. For sure. And they were already great there, but this show expanded on them, their characters and their backstories. The ultimate respect was put on their names, and I am here for it. And shout out for this show actually using the ocean spirit kaiju, and not the lame thing that the other live-action adaptation did. Oh, and Aang said the line, "No, it's not over," and I was satisfied. And Momo was useful! Oh, wait, I just remembered another negative. When did Sokka and Momo get so close? In this show, I mean. Not only did they have more times for shenanigans together in the original show, but Momo had more of a personality there. In this show, Momo was just a ridiculously cute plush who showed up to say hi for like 5 seconds on like 3 episodes. So, when did Sokka and Momo form this bond? Whatever. Momo was useful and still cute. And I think that's all I've got. Overall, this show wasn't a bad experience. I didn't come out of it being insulted as I and many others did on Shyamalan's adaptation. Sure, I was disappointed, mad, and confused at quite a few of the decisions that were made, but the writers and powers that be did more of their homework this time and actually seemed to care. I can tell that they tried. They expanded on ideas that only could have been done in hindsight of the original show and conveyed things that many viewers, including myself, would have wanted to see. This includes, but isn't limited to, everything Zuko and Iroh, Katara's traumatic backstory, Sokka's insecurities, the attack on the Airbenders, Gyatso's spirit having closure with Aang, and I'm sure a few other things. However, this show has issues. Katara being the main one for me, but not the only one. While the writers and whoever did seem to care, they didn't quite capture what made Avatar The Last Airbender special. And quite a few aspects of this story were disrespected. Most notably, the characters. They disrespected Katara's character, disrespected Sokka's character, disrespected Bumi's character, disrespected Azula, Ty Lee, and probably Mai, and low-key disrespected Aang's character. Of course, this is all in relation to the original cartoon, and I know that I reference the original show a lot. I know I should have judged this show on its own merit, but I can't. I'm too biased, and I've been into this show since it came out in 2005 when I was only in middle school. I love the original show, so I cannot help but compare an adaptation to the story it is adapting. I'm honestly so curious to see the reactions and thoughts of people who have never seen Avatar The Last Airbender. If I had to guess, they'll probably like this show. Unlike the other live-action adaptation, which, interestingly, also has its fans, unlike the other live-action adaptation, this has substance to it and is probably quite enjoyable if you don't know who these characters are or what this world is. And I'm not even saying that I dislike this show. I'm not gonna watch it again. That's both because we have the original, and I'm also just not the kind of person who rewatches things on my own. So, I thought it was just fine-ish, and I'm glad that Avatar gets this, and doesn't have to go down in history as having one of the worst live-action adaptations ever, and one of the worst movies ever, as its legacy. I mean, we're not gonna forget it. Oh no. That spot, that blemish, has long been soaked into the record. But at least we have the Netflix adaptation to say, well, at least it's better than that. At least they tried. And there's some genuine gems in this attempt. I can understand why someone would like this, but it pales in comparison to the original. It just doesn't have the same charm. No, it's more than that. What's it missing? Oh yeah, the fun. It's not fun. I mean, it has its fun moments, but overall I wouldn't give it the mark of fun, if that makes sense. A good chunk of the time I was bored. No one should be bored with Avatar The Last Airbender. I can tell that fans worked on this. The numerous references and contextually appropriate in-jokes can only be made by people who watch the show. Plus, there are moments of genuine respect for the original series. But that's the thing. They are only moments. This show has the air of a show written by fans who thought they knew how to better handle things than the original creators. And doing that for a show that was nearly perfect already was a very bold choice, which ended up being the wrong choice in a lot of instances. Yes, changes needed to be made and should have been made given that this is 8 episodes and it's live action. And yes, I once again acknowledge that the duration of the live-action show is about as long as the duration of book 1 of the cartoon, so really there wasn't that many excuses as to why it came out the way it did. Regardless, changes are necessary, but there's a fundamental lack of understanding for certain characters and events that are holding this show down, which is a shame. I'm legitimately curious as to what creative differences happened to make these guys back out of this production. At what point did they say, no, we don't want to be part of this? Was it how the show portrayed some of its core characters? Was it certain scenes? I genuinely want to know. I want to know the exact thing that made them go, nope, we're out. How much of this show did they tolerate in production before they couldn't tolerate it anymore? Did Bryke want a show that was 100% exactly like the cartoon, or were they accepting of the fact that some things had to change especially to condense it? No. It wasn't just the episode length. Once again, some things were fundamentally changed, and the heart of the show suffered for it. Hopefully they'll shine a light on that for us one day. As for now, it's anyone's guess. In any case, I've spoken so much, and I'm not really sure if I really even said anything. What did you guys think of the Netflix adaptation of Avatar The Last Airbender? Did you like it? Would you recommend it? Would you watch it again? What did you like or dislike? Are you looking forward to seasons 2 and 3? Let's get this conversation started. All I can say is, I'll watch the new seasons. They just better not mess up Toph. Or else, we riot. And remember, I'm the artistic Aloubell, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it and subscribe for more reviews, rants, and rewrites. But as for now, that's all there is. There isn't any more.